Hello YouTube. Today is Tuesday, November 20th, which means that today is the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Um, Today is the day set aside every year where we trans people remember and pay honor to our dead, people who were killed, often extraordinarily violently, by people solely because they're trans. The person found out, or they clocked them, or for any number of reasons. As a clergy person said at the Center on Halstead's Transgender Day of Remembrance event, when they were performing the opening prayer, these people were killed because they didn't pass, whatever that is, or somebody was afraid because they did pass, whatever that means. It's often, either a trans person is not passing but is living out anyway, or they pass very well, and, it's almost always men. Find themselves attracted to this very beautiful woman, and learn that she has a trans history. The fact of the matter is, they can't say, I'm not attracted to trans women, because they were, in fact, attracted to a trans woman. It's not like we all look alike. But, they find out that this person is trans, and freak out because they think that makes them gay, or, because they're bigoted assholes who need to react violently to things they don't understand. I think it's that one. Last year I did not read out the names because I was having a bit of a dry spell doing videos after I spoke at Yale. When I got back, it took me a long time to get back into making videos, and I really regret that I didn't do 2011, so I'm going to do 2012. So this, I'm actually recording this Sunday night after having gone to the T-Door event, because I don't do any Day of Remembrance stuff today, because today's also my daughter's birthday, and it's much more important to me to celebrate the birth of my daughter, and the day that she was alive, was first, a person in this world, than to sully that with all these terrible events that happen to people like me. Well, I say like me. The fact of the matter is, as you look down the list, it's almost exclusively trans women of color. And so, trans women like me, white and middle class, are at a much lower risk. Granted, we're still at risk, because we can still freak people the fuck out, who can lose their shit. But in the, the statistical grand scheme of things, it's not us. It's our sisters of color, and there's not a lot of trans men on this list, which, is a good thing. I'm not looking for them to be there. And there's not a lot of white trans women on this list as well. So I just want to make sure that I'm elevating awareness of the higher risk that trans people of color are at, and not whitewash what is really a horrific litany. It's not for me, necessarily. It's not for other women who look like me. We're all in this together, but we need to understand that just because we're both at risk, we're not at equal levels of risk. Again, somebody said something very similar to that tonight at the event, and it's, extraordinarily important to remember. I don't get to speak for their experiences, and I want to make sure that it's clear that I'm not trying to. So with that as a prelude, I am going to read the names and the ages, locations, and where known circumstances of murder, so that we can understand just how vile and how awful these crimes are. Nobody's poisoning them with laughing gas so that they go quietly and they're just like, this is not the world that we're living in. Be prepared. Sonia Masi, Gujarat, India. Cause of death, shot on November 24th, 2011. Gardenia in Campinas, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Stoned to death on November 25th, 2011. Brenting Doliel in New Orleans, Louisiana. He died of severe head trauma on November 26th, 2011. Brenting was 22 years old. Sueli Scala in Campinas, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Beaten to death on December 3rd, 2011. Pascual Akebe in Almoloya, Mexico. Gunshot to the head on December 4th, 2011. Charlie Erica Hernandez in Detroit, Michigan was stabbed to death on December 17th, 2011. Erica was only 26 years old. Bruninha and please forgive my pronunciation, Abandarantes Apucarana, PR, Brazil. Multiple machete blows to chest and neck on December 24th, 2011. Bruninha was 19 years old. Mona in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil. Gunshots to the foot and back, December 27th, 2011. Githi Goines, New Orleans, Louisiana, died of strangulation on December 30th, 2011 at only 23 years old. Another woman named Popina in Campos dos Goitacazes, Rio de Janeiro State, Brazil. Cause of death, gunshot to the back, 2. January 1st, 2012. Only 28 years old. I'm sorry, 25 years old. An unidentified person in Manaus, Amazonas, Brazil, died of strangulation on January 17th, 2012. Crane Conaway in Oceanside, California, died of trauma to the body also on January 17th, 2012. Crane was 28 years old. Guilherme Augusto de Souza in Sumaré, Sao Paulo, Brazil. 13 gunshots on January 23rd, 2012. Guilherme was only 16 years old. Paula Cristiano in Maceió, Alagoas, Brazil. 7 gunshots to the head, neck, and back, January 30th, 2012. Paula was only 28 years old. Dione Jones in Baltimore, Maryland. Gunshot, died February 2nd, 2012. Dione was only 23 years old. Carla in Campo Mourão, Paraná, Brazil. Cause of death, gunshot, on March 2nd, 2012. Also known as Natalicio Jose Carlos de Silva. Carla was 51 years old. Junior Ricardo de Jesus in Ituiutaba, Minas Gerais, Brazil. Skeleton was found with bullet fragments near the body in March of 2012. Agnes Torres Sousa in Atlixco, Puebla, Mexico, died of neck wounds, burned, and thrown in a ditch on March 10th, 2012. Chiquinha in Bandeirantes, Sao Paulo, Brazil, stoned and beaten to death, March 13th, 2012. A.k.a. Nico Francisco de Oliveira, Chiquinha was 35 years old. Soraya in Olivenza, Alagoas, Brazil, gagged, had pieces of wood inserted into the anus, penis burned with alcohol, on March 13th, 2012, a.k.a. Valmir da Silva. Soraya was 39 years old. Renee Rosita Hidalgo in Miami Beach, Florida, was gagged, multiple stab wounds, and had her neck slit March 15th, 2012. David William de Oliveira Candido in Londrina, Paranhana, Brazil, severe head and neck trauma, March 22nd, 2012. David was only 16 years old. Coco Williams, Detroit, Michigan, was shot to death April 4th, 2012 at 35 years old. Tyrell Jackson in Riviera Beach, Florida, was shot April 4th, 2012. Tyrell was also 23 years old. Meenakshi Ammal in Krishnagiri, India, was burned and had her throat slit April 12th, 2012. Paige Clay from here in Chicago, Illinois, died of a gunshot to the face on April 16th, 2012. Paige was only 23 years old. Rebecca in Maceió, Alagoas, Brazil, gunshot to the back and head April 22nd, 2012, a.k.a. Cosmo da Silva. Leandro Eduardo Campos Vieira in Recife, Pernambuco, Brazil, multiple gunshot wounds, 11 gunshot wounds, April 26th, 2012. Brandy Martell in Oakland, California, died of a gunshot on April 29th, 2012. Brandy was 37 years old. An unidentified person in Hope, Paraíba, Brazil, died of a gunshot May 10th, 2012. Anil Ayaram Thengu in Thankassery, India, had his throat slit and abdominal injuries found May 10th, 2012. Lorena Escalera in Brooklyn, New York, was burned to death on May 11th, 2012. Christy Azzopardi in Finsbury Park, London, UK, died of unknown causes on June 4th, 2012. Christy was 22 years old. Thapelo Makudal in Kuruman, South Africa, died, this is particularly tragic, her throat was cut, she was partially decapitated, and her genitals were stuffed in her mouth. This happened June 9th, 2012. William Giovanni Aguilar Perez in Villanueva, Guatemala, died of a gunshot June 17th, 2012. Allison in Villanueva, Guatemala, also died June 17th, 2012 of a gunshot. An unidentified person in Pinhais, Curitiba, Paraná, Brazil, was burned to death June 26, 2012. Jaime Tamara Perez in Guatemala City, Guatemala, died of a gunshot June 28, 2012. Another unidentified person in Pinhais, Paraná, Brazil, was burned to death June 27, 2012. Camila de Mink in Bauru, Sao Paulo, Brazil, was stabbed to death June 30th, 2012, also known as Carlucio de Oliveira. Camilla was 40 years old. Tracy Johnson in Baltimore, Maryland, died of multiple gunshot wounds July 5th, 2012. Cecile Ann in Antalya, Turkey, had her throat cut and her face slashed July 10th, 2012. Barbarita in San Pedro Sula, Honduras, died of gunshots to the face and head August 3rd, 2012, also known as Marlon Javier Jimenez Alaman. Tanya in Sincelejo, Sucre, Colombia, died of a gunshot to the head August 4th, 2012. Vanderson Viegas Silva in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was dragged for 2 blocks by a car on August 5th, 2012. Tiffany Gooden, here again in Chicago, Illinois, died of multiple stab wounds August 14th, 2012. Donta was 19 years old. Tiffany was also known as Donta Gooden. Serena Paula in La Guajira, Maicao, Colombia, died of head trauma August 11th, 2012. Serena was 44 years old. An unidentified person in São José do Rio Preto, São Paulo, Brazil, was shot and killed August 15, 2012. The victim was approximately 30 years old. Another unidentified person was also shot August 15, 2012 in São José do Rio Preto, São Paulo, Brazil. The victim was only 24 years old. Larissa Silveira in Piracicaba, São Paulo, Brazil, died of multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and face and was dumped by the side of the road on August 17, 2012. Tiago da Silva Oliveira died of Pernambuco, Brazil, died of a gunshot August 19, 2012. Robson Franco Pereira in Campinas, Sao Paulo, Brazil, died of gunshots to the arm and face on August 24th, 2012. Dwayne Deja Jones in Miami, Florida, died of a gunshot August 26th, 2012. An unidentified person in Clementina, Brazil, died of repeated blows to the head with a spade August 29th, 2012. Kendall Hampton in Cincinnati, Ohio, was shot to death August 29th, 2012. Kendall was 26 years old. Kira Cordova, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, died of a gunshot wound to the head on September 3rd, 2012. Victoria in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was murdered and mutilated, her genitals and an ear removed. She was thrown into a dumpster September 16th, 2012. She was also known as Mark Gustavo da Silva Costa. An unidentified person in Sao Paulo, Brazil, died of a neck injury with their hands and feet tied, wrapped in a sheet, and burned on September 21st, 2012. January Marie Lapuz of New Westminster, British Columbia, in Canada, died of stab wounds on September 29th, 2012. January was 26 years old. Madonna of Aracaju, Brazil, was stoned to death October 19th, 2012. January was only 26 years old. January was also known as Amos Chegas Lima. Cassandra in Rouen, France, died of asphyxiation with the body partially burned after death. That was just this month, November 4th, 2012. Cassandra was also known as Walter Franz Flores Zapata. All of those names and their information came from transgenderdor.org. It's the official site for the Transgender Day of Remembrance. It's maintained by Marty Abernathy, who is a trans advocate and activist in Indiana. I was acquainted with her a couple of years back. Very passionate woman, very intelligent, articulate, and driven. You can find all this information out, as I said, at transgenderdor.org. I think it's so hard to read that and so hard to hear that, but I think that the victims deserve to have their names read out and remembered by someone. And, it's never, you're not more dead if you were stabbed to death versus falling asleep and never waking up, but there are certainly more painful ways of dying than others, and more frightening and terrifying ways of living your last moments. And I feel my heart goes out for these women and all of the families that are mourning their loss and grieve for them. I grieve with you, and I hope that you can find peace. One last thing, I think as a community, we tend to focus very heavily on those who we've lost. And the lists that we have come from, external forces. We lose so many of our trans brothers and sisters every year to suicide. And it's because they feel like there's no place for them in this world, or they're alone, or they don't have the language to express how they feel, or they're not in an environment where it's safe to express how they feel. If you're one of those people, please call the Trevor Project. They are always available to help you find resources, to bring yourself back to our world, bring you back to the world of light that, is here, that you can find if you stick around. The NCTE, National Center for Transgender Education, I think, did a survey a couple years ago which found that 40% of all trans people have attempted suicide. And that, of course, can't count the number of people who committed suicide without ever having come out. And last but not least, I think it's as important to remember the people who lived, the people who survived these kind of violent attacks, as it is to remember those who we've lost. The people who we've lost can't speak for themselves, and it's really easy, I think, sometimes to bend their deaths to somebody's political agenda. But we need to keep our ears open and our hearts open to those who have been brutally attacked and have survived, and especially those who are paying the price for surviving, like Cece McDonald in Minnesota, who is serving out a 3-year term in a men's prison because she was attacked by transphobic bigots and assaulted. They came after her. They physically came after her. She defended herself, and one of the attackers died. So she was convicted of manslaughter in what is clearly a self-defense case. You know, and that's just the most high-profile one. There are people who survive trans hatred attacks, you know, every single day, and some are small scale, some are large scale, but you know, every one of them is a person. We need to remember that, you know, the Day of Remembrance is not just about the people that we've lost, but the people that we have and the ones that we need to keep. So that's what I have for this year. Come back tomorrow, and they'll have another video. Thursday is Thanksgiving, so I will do a What I Am Thankful For video for that. But this is the big one. This is what Transgender Awareness Month is all about. It's all leading up to the Day of Remembrance. So please try to find a way to get involved in your community and with your local trans youth or people who are at higher risk. Try to find a way to reach out and help lift up those who are down. Deep breaths, everyone. I hope the rest of your day is a pleasant one.